All right, we want to get going here because we want to try to get this done in an hour. All right, well, we have been in this study on developing a worldview. And what we've been talking about is everyone has a worldview. Every single human being has a worldview. So our worldview is the lens that we look through at the world around us. We look at people, circumstances, and situations through a lens, and that lens is our worldview. So how did we come up with our worldview? Well, our worldview is developed by these 5 things. Every single human being has a worldview based on how they answer these 5 questions. What do you believe about God? Walk up to any human being and ask them, what do you believe about God? And you're going to learn a lot about their worldview. What do you believe about creation? What do you believe about human beings? What do you believe about moral order? And what do you believe about purpose? Every single person, you ask these questions, and they're going to answer these questions based on their worldview that they have developed. Proverbs 23:7, as a man thinketh within his heart, so is he. As a man thinketh within his heart, so is he. It's the truth. We all act out of what we think. All the thought processes, our opinions, our worldview, that's how we conduct our lives. Everyone does it. The point is, as believers in Jesus, we want a biblical worldview so that we look at everything in life, people, circumstances, situations, relationships, marriage. We look at everything from a biblical worldview. A lot of the discipleship that has happened in the church focuses on new believers exclusively learning about the Bible. So and which we want them to do, and that's a big part of our discipleship. But I think what we don't always convey or communicate is that when you develop a biblical worldview, when you come as a disciple of Jesus, it affects the way you look at everything in life. Your career, your goals in life, your exercise program. Everything is looked at from a biblical worldview. All right, so we introduced over the last couple of weeks these are the dominant worldviews embraced by American adults, okay? So we've talked about biblical worldview, and everything we do is about the biblical worldview, and we'll continue doing that every time we get together. But the next one we talked about was postmodernism. Can anybody tell me what is postmodernism?
It's rejecting the values that we've had in the past, where they reject them.
That's it. That you're going in the right direction.
Okay.
Postmodernism, remember, it is to deconstruct society. Postmodernism is to deconstruct society. So what do? You tear down statues. You want to tear down the Constitution. Postmodernism is a worldview that is within men and women's hearts, and they're operating out of these. You want to basically start all over again. Wipe everything out. Take a sledgehammer, and especially we're talking about America, take a sledgehammer to everything in America and start all over again. Nihilism. What is nihilism?
No purpose in life.
Say it again.
No purpose in life.
There is no purpose in
for
life. What's that?
No purpose for life.
And no purpose for life.
And no eternal life.
And there is no eternal life.
They cease to exist.
Exactly. Nihilism assumes that you simply cease to exist. So as we've shared, when an individual, we see these people committing suicide, they go out and shoot up a bunch of people and they commit suicide. But in their minds, as a nihilist, they're going, this is cool. I pull the button and I just disappear. Poof. And no one can touch me. I just go poof. I cease to exist. I escape. So in their minds, there is no consequences for what they've done. They just go poof, gone.
No heaven and hell.
No heaven, no hell, no earth. And that's why killing people and doing these things, it's like, well, they just pop, pop, pop. They just cease to exist. That's all they're doing. They're just poof, poof, poof. They cease to exist. That's nihilism.
Yeah, not that they're all going to go out and kill people.
No,
Just
but it's a part of that mentality. It's a part of that mentality that's going on there. All right, then we talked briefly about Eastern mysticism, which is basically Buddhism, and some Hinduism leans into Eastern mysticism, which is a wonderful thing. What is mysticism? Do you know? Yes.
I think it's where they're going beyond what you can feel and think to touch something that's out there.
Abstract.
And you're not becoming God, but you're connecting with that.
Right, that's a good way of looking at it. So Eastern mysticism basically is you disappear as an individual. Your individuality disappears as you blend into this universal consciousness that is out there. All right.
I know with Buddhism that you try to find that empty place in you and are okay with it.
Learn to find the empty place.
Right, which
All
is the opposite of
All right, well, let's see if we can move along. All right, let's see how many of these we can get done. This will be fun. All right.
So this is on YouTube too, if you guys missed it last week and you want to catch up with these first few.
All right, so here's the interesting thing. How do we develop a biblical worldview? Well, we get it from the Bible. That's where we get our biblical worldview. So if you look at this graph here, what you'll notice is that 38% of Christians never read the Bible. A few twice a year. Three or four times a year, once a month. How are you going to build a biblical worldview when 75% of Christians don't read the Bible? So what that means is how you're developing your worldview, if it is anywhere near biblical, in other words, if you're against abortion, for example, why are you against abortion? Well, I'm against it because my church is against it. Well, why are you against abortion? Well, my pastor's against it. But you see what's happening here? How did you develop your worldview? Because somebody else's opinion. How we develop our individual worldview of who God is and creation and morality and the human beings and purpose. How are we going to develop that? You develop it by reading the Bible. 75% is I'm suggesting, because when you add those numbers up, because I don't see how once a month you could actually really gain a biblical worldview if you're only reading it once a month. If you're reading just the Psalms, for example, which are awesome, how are you going to develop a biblical worldview? You're going to have to dig into the Word itself. 75%. All right, we're going to go into the next one. Secular humanism is a worldview held by 2% of the population. All right. This worldview actually, in so many ways, was developed back in 1789 in France by a man named Rousseau, and there was also a man named Voltaire. And they were really into this in 1789. They were developing this humanistic worldview. And what happened when the French Revolution came, Rousseau and Voltaire, they wanted a constitution that had nothing to do with God. Okay? So they were wanting to develop a constitution. They wanted France to stand on a foundation where God was not a part of it. How did the French Revolution turn out?
Pretty bad.
Pretty bad. Guillotines, over 40,000 peasants were killed by the guillotine simply because all somebody had to do is go, there for the king. Oh, off with your head. The other bloody revolution was the Russian Revolution, and neither one of these, the French or the Russian, had anything to do with the power of the Reformation that was released at that time. They did not, the impact of the Reformation that impacted England and impacted America, as with God at the center, was a part of the change that happened in England, where they removed the king from his position and they put the parliament in. So what happened in England, what happened in America, God was at the heart of their constitution. Not in France, not in Russia. So Francis Schaeffer made a statement, and I love this. He said, if there is no absolute by which to judge society, society becomes the absolute. So in other words, if the majority of the population says, we want this, then all of a sudden that becomes okay. So is smoking marijuana, for example, okay? Well, there was a point when the greater part of the population in definite states or different states, they said yes, because the society became the absolute to stand against what had been there before. In 1933, the first Humanist Manifesto was written. Ironically, in 1933 was the birth of the National Socialist German Workers' Party. The National Socialist German Workers' Party came into being in 1933, and that party was called the National, now let's see if I can say this in German, it's the National Socialist, NAZI was the acronym for the National Socialist German Workers' Party, which we've come to know as Nazi. But that word Nazi has taken on, is such an evil thing in our conscience. We hear that word, it's so evil. But we have to realize it's an acronym for the National Socialist German Workers' Party. All right. Secular humanism. This view contends that even though people have evolved over a millennia of time, human beings are little more than biological machines. What do you do with a machine when it breaks? You toss it. You know, unless you can fix it. But it's just a machine. How bad do you feel, you know, if you go out and kick the tire on your car? Do you feel bad? It's just a machine. Who cares? Kick the tire. Secular humanists revere nature as central, powerful force responsible for all that exists. Did you hear what I just said? Secular humanists revere nature as the central power force responsible for all that exists. Therefore, we must fiercely protect it. Morals and ethics are determined through the application of science, reason, and experience. See, one of the reasons why we're going through this study is to understand, why are we in the world? Where are these people coming from?
Exactly.
Where are they coming from? Secular humanism. And every time you see the brackets, that's when I put something in. And you'll notice here also, this comes from the American Worldview Inventory 2021-2022, George Bernas, Arizona Christian University. But in secular humanism, morality is arbitrary. And for Cheryl's benefit, she's always teasing me. Arbitrary means decisions that are made without reasonable facts or consistency. Arbitrary. Decisions that are made without reasonable facts or consistency. There is no fixed point of reference. And then I go on to say it is capricious. Cheryl always teases me. I can't say these two words without putting them together. It's arbitrary and capricious.
They're kind of similar.
Well, capricious means spontaneous, unpredictable decisions that are illogical and confusing. Mm-hmm. Capricious is spontaneous, unpredictable decisions that are illogical and confusing. So when I say here, secular humanism, morality is arbitrary, no reasonable facts or consistency. They're capricious, they're illogical, depending on what society says is good. So society is the one that's actually driving all of the norms. In one sense, man is God, nature is God, and we must worship them both. God is at the center, man is at the center, and nature, like Mother Nature.
So we worship science in a way.
Right. So if you'll remember, what we heard a lot during the 2000s, and when COVID came out, what did you hear a lot? Science. We just want to go with the science.
Trust the science.
Just trust the science.
Exactly.
All right, I want to jump back 6,000 years ago. Do you know that the humanistic, secular humanism was actually born over 6,000 years ago by a leader named Nimrod in Genesis 11. And he said, "Come, let us make bricks and burn them thoroughly." And they used brick for stone, and they used tar for mortar. And of course, the Tower of Babel was located in what is now modern Iraq, southern Iraq. But I want you to notice something. You see this picture here of the projected of what the Tower of Babel might have looked like? I want to show you, this is the EU capital in Strasbourg, France. Now, isn't that curious? That's the capital of the EU. And when I saw that picture and the previous picture, I'm like, good gravy. What's that? And like the Colosseum too, yeah. So, but let's go on in this story. They said they were all getting together and they said, "Come, let us build for ourselves a city and a tower whose top will reach into heaven, and let us make for ourselves a name, otherwise we will be scattered abroad over the face of the whole earth." They wanted to build a tower that reached into heaven. Going on with our story. Then the Lord said, "Behold, they are one people, and they all have the same language." And this is what they began to do. And now listen to this. This is powerful. They have one language. They're all united. And he says, now nothing which they purpose to do will be impossible for them. Where are we at today?
AI.
And what do we all have universally? English. We have basically one language.
And you have those apps that can translate any language while you're talking.
Instantly.
Right.
So we have a one world language again.
Exactly. So look what's happened. We've actually come full circle all the way back to where we were 6,000 years ago as one people with one language. I'm just saying there's a lot going on. Now look what the Lord said. "Come, let us go down there and confuse their language so that they will not understand one another's speech." I want to propose or suggest my opinion that within the heart of those individuals who do not know Jesus, in their heart, they would like to do these four things. Number one is create life without God. They're working on it, right? Something inside of them goes clear back to 6,000 years ago. They want to create life without God. They want to create a paradise on earth without God. And we're going to link this together with secular humanism. They want to create eternal life through science, to discover a way to create eternal life without science, and then create a way to reach into heaven. What did it say? We want to build a tower that will reach into heaven. Because what they would like to do, Mr. Nimrod, he was a Nimrod, wanted to climb to the top of that mountain, climb to the top of that tower, step off the top of the tower into God's presence, say, we got here and we didn't need Jesus. We got here and we didn't need righteousness. To build a tower to reach heaven, to be able to step into heaven and tell God, we got here and we didn't need you. But I believe, I am suggesting that somewhere inside of unregenerate individuals are some of these drivers. These are some drivers in science and so forth. Is if we could replace God, if we could do everything God did and replace him with our own science, there's a driver inside of these individuals.
Well, if you remove God from the equation, then that means you're not accountable, or at least that's...
Of course. No, in morality, yeah. So you can see, as we watch the news and we look at the world around us, in light of these worldviews, you're like, well, duh, you can see where these people are coming. This is, and I don't think I've said it yet, but I'll say it in a minute, but humanism is a religion, and they identify it as a religion. They wanted to replace Christianity with a different religion, with a whole different agenda, different God. Who are you worshiping? Nature, the power of nature. And so therefore we have to be environmentalists.
So like in science, eternal life, would that be the products that are coming out, like stem cells and patches and all that stuff?
Right.
Yeah,
And cryogenics,
cryogenic.
where they can freeze you till they come up with a cure for what you have.
Right, yeah.
So these are drivers that are going on, and so as we go through this study, one of the scriptures we always keep at the forefront is Ezekiel 33 verse 10 in the Geneva version. Ezekiel 33 verse 10 in the Geneva version asks this question: how should we then live? If this is the condition we're in, and we're going to go through some more of these worldviews, when you listen to these, it can be a little daunting because you realize this is what is driving these people to do what they do. And the question is, well, then how should we then live? And that's part of the question we want to answer, because God has an answer.
Hallelujah, thank you.
God has an
And
answer.
I'm waiting.
Back to
Yeah,
science
let's
too,
hear it.
it's not that science is bad, you know, and even some of the stuff they're doing for longevity, that's bad, but when you throw in the humanism element,
Right.
then it is bad when they're just playing God.
They keep wanting to divert thing over here to where we don't have God. All right, now, humanism. What an exciting worldview. Here's Humanist Agenda, item 2023. This comes from the Humanists of Greater Portland, Oregon. Their motto is good without a God. That's their motto. Now listen to this. This is a wonderful endeavor. The presentation at Friendly House by Les U. Knight, founder of the voluntary human extinction movement. Who wants to sign up for the extinction
They
movement?
probably should.
So yeah.
What'd you say?
Sorry, it's cold.
So look at this. Mr. Knight's life work is to phase out the human species by non-coercive means. What is that? What is he trying to say here? We don't want to exterminate everybody. We don't want to put everybody in a gas tank and kill them all by the millions. We want to do it in non-coercive ways.
Dr.
COVID.
Phil,
Show yourself, right?
Yeah, he was on there.
Suicide.
So he has presented his views in a number of venues and has been featured in the New York Times and on the Dr. Phil TV show. Now, here's what's curious about this. What did he say? Non-coercive. Well, what happens if we, you know what? We were working in our on some chemistry things. We were in our little laboratory and oops, something got out into the environment and killed a whole bunch of people. Oops.
Yeah, right.
Non-coercive. See, that little bug that got loose, I didn't pull the trigger on anybody.
Then you tick.
Yeah, the little bug that got out. So now, can anybody tell me who won the Humanist of the Year award for 2021? Anybody
Fauci?
guess?
Fauci?
Dr. Anthony S. Fauci
You won what?
won the Humanist of the Year award in 2021. Dr. Fauci.
Yep.
Non-coercive.
Phase out the human species by non-coercive means. A little bug just happened to get out into the environment. A bunch of people, thousands of people died.
I thought that was Bill Gates.
Well,
Him too.
So-
He's involved in a lot of stuff.
Well, then
So-
you gotta have the vaccine.
then we got to do, and that'll really make it better.
Yeah.
So the pandemic,
Except that wasn't coercive, that was coercive.
that was coercive. So the pandemic was released in 2020. Now, there was another guy named Dr. David Breeden, 2023. He is a senior minister in the Unitarian Church. But what's interesting about Dr. Breeden is that he started out his faith journey in a Pentecostal church. He received the Humanist Distinguished Service Award in 2023. So what we see here is a blend of Christianity and a blend of humanism. We're starting to blend worldviews. So what's that called? 88% of people in America hold to what is called syncretism. And syncretism is where you blend them all. You take all those worldviews as a menu, and you say, I'll take a little of this, a little of that, a little of that, and we'll show you more of that as we go on here.
You know, Danny, we listened to the movie by Francis Schaeffer, How Shall We Then Live, like in the 70s at our church. They did the whole series there, and he talked about euthanasia. And I'm not talking about the teenagers in Asia, we're talking about assisted suicide, they call it now. But back then, it was like, oh, when would they ever do that? Euthanasia? And look, it's already happening.
So when we talk about removing the human species by non-coercive means, well, what are some ways we can do that? How about how about transgenderism? Let's promote homosexuality, because what's happening? We're stopping propagation is being stopped, and the more that can happen, the fewer people there are. Like right now, of course, an abortion, all of these things, and like Japan is really in a very difficult place right now. Not necessarily because of all the humanist stuff, but their challenge is they're not growing as a population.
Is not expanding.
China's the same way.
It's decreasing. Okay, but we also realize there are forces at work that love it. That's what they want, more of it. And one of the sticklers that they have a challenge with is this place called the United States of America that is not fully on board with the removing of the species. All right, any questions or comments on that one? Yeah.
Where do they think the whole of humanity are going to go? Just have a world just sitting around and nobody lives anymore and they're just robots or whatever?
Well, that's part of it, but let me see if I can run through these, and let's start we're going to start tying things together, because what is it? It is illogical. It's capricious. It is illogical. It doesn't make sense at all. Why would you go after that? Do they really want every single human being not to exist on the planet? Let's see if we can answer that question. We have this wonderful answer to the issue of morality. So we go along, and we've got now we got humanism over here as a religion. So we got a kind of religious order, but we need some sort of morality, because if you're going to tell somebody something's wrong, you have to appeal to some sort of morality. So Frank Peretti wrote a couple of books, and he was confronted, you may have heard this before, but he was confronted in a hotel, and this man came up and screamed at him, "You and your Christian morality. You know, you're shoving your Christian morality down our throats." And he just was screaming. And when he caught his breath, Frank looked at him and goes, "So let me get this straight. What you're saying is, I'm wrong." And of course, right then, the skid marks. Because if you're saying, I'm wrong, you have to appeal to some form of morality. How can you say I'm wrong without some form of morality? Well, moralistic therapeutic deism answers the question of morality, and it says, first of all, there is a God who is not involved in what we do unless it's an emergency. It's called deism. It's called deism. In the 1600s and the 1700s, when our nation was being born, this was a dominant view called deism. And what deism said was, we're not denying that there's a God, we can't get to him. And he's not involved in our life. He just wound a clock, started it, and walked away. That's called deism. Bette Midler in 1990 wrote a song, or sang a song, if you've ever heard it. And the song was titled From a Distance. And the lyrics to that song is, God is watching from a distance. That's deism. God's not involved unless it's an emergency. It's moralistic because it provides some sort of morality of right and wrong. It's therapeutic because it encourages healthy living, emotional and spiritual well-being. And it's deism that says that if there is a God, he's just not involved. All of the constraints of the Judeo-Christian religious morality, forget that. Moralistic, MTD, moralistic therapeutic deism, really began to proliferate in the early 2000s. Okay, so we're going to show you here in a minute the generations that this affected. But anybody know what generation is that affecting? If that's really spreading throughout out the world, what generation is being impacted? Gen Z. The Gen Z is being infected by this. But there's a certain quality to this where the people go, you can walk up to any Gen Zer, well, maybe not every, but you can pretty much walk up to any Gen Zer and say, do you believe in God? And they would get this look on their face, and they would say, oh yes, I believe in God. And they feel good about that. They feel all warm and fuzzy when they say, yes, I do believe in God. But they're believing in a God who is not involved in this life, who they don't need to be involved with either. So MTD contends that our earthly purpose is to be happy. That's your driver. Be happy, which comes from a feeling good about yourself and being good to others. Good people go to heaven when they die. This worldview is optimistic, driven by emotion. It's all about feeling. So when you sit there and say to somebody, do you know that behavior is sin? When you say to somebody, you know that behavior is sin, what are you doing? What are you doing right then? You're making them unhappy. You're making them unhappy. You're making them uncomfortable. And so as soon as you do that, then you are bad.
You're a hater.
You're a hater. You are bad because of what you just did. So we don't want to do that. So it's driven by emotion. It is human-centric. And that's where we get the idea of diversity, equity, and inclusion. And the key word is tolerance.
Oh, yes.
That's the key word, is tolerance. For everybody except
Those who disagree.
those that disagree.
That's right.
Especially Christians. Everybody else we're going to be tolerant of, but that group we're not going to be tolerant of. All right. And then let's see, what else were you going to say here? So one of the things from the inception of our country 250 years ago, there was what was called the Christian consensus. And what is the Christian consensus? What that means is that the dominant thought processes that existed in our entire world, or entire United States, was a sense of the Christian morality. It affected everybody. So in other words, no matter who you were, and I know that there was evil going on, people did violated all this, but the overarching thought processes were, we don't kill, we don't steal, we don't lie. No matter who you were, everybody had this Christian consensus. So when the lawmakers and the judges and everybody was doing their business, whether they were a Christian or not, they were still under the umbrella of the Christian consensus that said stealing is wrong, murder is wrong. All of those elements existed there, but they began to be watered down. And does anybody know what decade it dramatically shifted? The Christian consensus began to 1960s. In the 1960s, the Christian consensus began to disappear from the conscience of America.
No Bible reading.
No Bible reading, no prayer. They began to move that out of the psyche of human beings in America, was the Christian consensus. Tear it down. Of course, then you had to replace it with something, so you replaced it with moralistic therapeutic deism. Because we're moral and we're therapeutic. We care about your feelings. Moving right along at lightning speed. The third one we're going to do today, and third one we're going to do today. Let's see if we can finish this up. And our last one for today is going to be on Marxism. Now look at it assumes. Now also let me next week what we're going to be talking about is we're going to talk about. I'm going to share with you details of what this looks like in our society today. And I'm going to tell you something. When you look at where this is at in our society, it's shocking. But this is the most shocking thing that you're going to hear next week, is you're going to hear the truth of what's happened in the institutional church. And when you hear what's happened in the institutional church and what it believes statistically, it's shocking. I'm just saying. Marxism assumes there are the oppressed and the oppressors. This is explained through critical race theory. Now, let me just tell you guys here, sitting in this room, you are either an oppressor or you are of the oppressed. You are one or the other. There is no black and white. Either you are an oppressor or you are the oppressed. Now, interestingly
In
enough,
Marxism.
let me describe the oppressor class. Okay, this is the oppressor class. The oppressors are those who are identified by home ownership, they're married, they're white, they're wealthy. That would be the oppressor class. We have to rescue the oppressed from the oppressors. So, and whatever it takes, and what happened in Russia, first of all, when communism went into Russia, wherever it's gone, do you know the first two groups of people that they exterminated?
Educated?
The number one, educated
And wealthy?
and the wealthy.
Okay.
You eliminate the intellectuals and the wealthy. Oh, by the way, we're getting a little ahead of ourselves, but that's all right because we're going to talk more about that later too. So when you take the wealth away from the wealthy and you destroy all the intellectuals, where'd the money go?
To the top.
Ooh, They don't tell you about that. They don't tell you about, they do not tell you about the cultural elites. Listen to this. Marxism offers cultural elites as the hope for mankind due to their intellectual and moral superiority and their willingness to lead forward. What happens every time where communism goes, the elites take charge because they're the smart ones.
And
They're the
nobody else.
superior ones.
Yeah, nobody
The
else has what
expert.
they have.
The experts. And what happens to all that wealth that they took away? Goes to the elite.
Yeah, read 1984.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the it offers cultural elites as the hope of mankind due to their intellectual moral superiority. I'm telling you what, I got to stop here, but you know what? You look on the screen and you see these communists. And what are they saying? Some of the most smug individuals you'll see on the screen that are mayors of cities, senators, and what do they have? They have this air of superiority. We're smarter than you. We are the smart ones that are smarter than you. You don't know how to lead. You don't know how to do it. We know how to fix everything. We are the elite. Governance must be in the hands of devotees who remove the perceived oppressors, and this always requires authoritarian, totalitarian
Like
force.
California.
Always,
Right.
always, always, always. You can walk in the front door smiling, saying, I'm here to fix all of you poor people. I'm here to fix all of your problems. You just need to give me the complete, absolute power to do it. And when I am given absolute power, then I will make it happen. And you know what the thing we're going to do, all you poor people out there? We're going to get rid of all the rich people. And you know how they're oppressors? We know they're oppressors. You know why? Because they own homes.
Right, and we'll give you a home.
We're going to
And a free
give
grocery
you
store.
homes. Now, we're not going to tell you the quality of that one room shack,
They're gonna stay on the streets, right?
but we're going to remove the oppressors. And we can identify them for you.
So we're going to remove the oppressors so I can be the oppressor. is what they're
Well,
saying.
but see, they are the superior, moral, intellectual elites that know better for everybody.
They
And-
join once a year.
Yeah,
And
and
They are the gods.
they are, and the beautiful thing is, you don't even have to think anymore. You don't have to think.
We'll do it all for you.
We'll do it all for you. I think I put this in here somewhere, but in 1967, in Greece, a man took power as a dictator named Papadopoulos. And what I was told by the Greeks, when he took power, he went on the TV screen and he said to the people of Greece, he says, you're all just a bunch of little children. You're ignorant little children, and I'm going to be your daddy and take care of everything. The only problem is it doesn't work without absolute power. Because you have a problem. People with brains, intellectuals, and let me say this loudly, I wish I had a giant loudspeaker. People that don't read books. People that don't read books are the first to fall victim because they don't really know what our history is. Where did we come from? They don't know who Cicero is. They don't know who Socrates is. Epinetus. They don't know who any of those people are. They never heard those names before.
World War II referred to
Wor-
as World War XI.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Oh, I know.
A docent at a museum,
Yep.
she was a teacher with her class,
Yep. So
World War XI.
this was developed. Let me see if I can tie this up here as quickly as I can. I just have two more, and let me finish this. But so we understand that Karl Marx, 1818 to 1883, was a German philosophic economist. He developed the concept Marxist theory, which is the basis of socialism and communism. It has always required cruel oppression. And what's sad? Everywhere communism is gone, you know who suffers the worst? The poor people. We're here to save you, all you poor people. We're here to save you. We're going to get rid of all those rich people. And all the poor people down here eating one potato a day go, yay! Do we get to eat more tomorrow? No, you don't. Actually, we're going to cut that potato in half and share it with the other people in your squalor. While the elite...
Take over.
All right. So, and the goal is communism, socialism, create paradise on earth, no class warfare, everybody's equal, no rich people, nor no poor people supposedly, and no personal ownership. Somehow that's going to be good for everybody. Never has been. All right. Let me see if I can finish. I got one more slide I've got to share with you. So, Marxism, no private property ownership. Diminish or remove the nuclear family. Because one of the challenges, you get rid of the intellectuals and you get rid of the wealthy people, you have a challenge. What are fathers in families? They're leaders. And so the other thing is you want to diminish or remove fathers from the equation because they're leaders. So you want to get rid of them. The elite will dictate the cultural norms. We will tell you what to do. We will tell you what you can and cannot do. We will tell you what is normal. We will explain it to you. And there is no God because the state is God. Like North Korea and Cuba, the state is God. All right, last slide. Let me just run through this really quick. Nuremberg, Germany, 1936. Cheryl's cousin, now track with me here. Cheryl's cousin's husband's grandfather was at this event in Nuremberg. He was at this event. He left immediately after this event. When he heard Adolf Hitler begin to spell out Nazism, he left. He knew this is not good.
He got out.
He got out of there. But one of the things that he shared with Fritz, his great-grandson, was that Germany tried socialism in the early 1900s, 1917, somewhere in there. They were trying socialism. It didn't work. They gave up on it real quick. Adolf Hitler comes along, and now we're going to have the National Socialist German Workers' Party, Nazi, took power in 1933, began to really formulate their power. And what happened was immediately, you know what they told everybody? You're going to have free bus rides. We're going to give you free bus rides. We're going to give you free food. And guess what? When you work hard, everybody is going to get a 2-week vacation on a cruise line out in the Mediterranean, and you're all going to be sipping champagne. All of you workers out there.
And sink the ship.
You're all out here. You're all out here. But they promised them the moon. And what did they start doing? They start doling it out.
That's
Doling
Biden-
it out.
That was Biden's whole thing.
They start doling out all the money. And where are all the poor people going, whoa, look at this, I got money, you know?
Hey, this is great.
But 3 years later, do you know what they ran into? They ran out of money.
Yep.
They ran out of money in 1939. They were on the verge of bankruptcy. You can only, you can't keep printing money that has no value. So they began to run out of money. They needed two things. One, they had to project this issue onto an enemy. The government it's not our fault. It's not our fault. The government,
It's the Jews.
oh, it is the Jews' fault.
Oh, dear.
We're in the condition we are in economically because of the Jews.
Oh my God.
So they began to shift. They wanted to get don't look at the government.
Yeah.
It's not our fault. What have we been doing? We've been giving you all kinds of free stuff, right? So we're the good guys. Why are we in the financial condition? Because of the Jews. And then, of course, the other thing that gets people out of depressions, economic depression, is have a war. So what do? They attack Poland, and next thing you know, we got a war and we got an enemy, and the next thing you know, well, the rest is history.
Yes.
So Germany attacked Poland in 1939 and began this. But a man stood in that group of people listening to Adolf Hitler, and he knew this is scary stuff. Get out of here. And he did. So these worldviews are in our society today, and we're going to talk about how these all weave together next week, because they all weave together. Because you can sit over here going, I'm a moralistic, therapeutic individual, and I have rights and wrong. I know what's right and wrong. And then you're like, and I want to protect the environment. I mean, we got to protect the environment, you know? And so I'm also a humanist, but now that I feel good and I know what we need to do, I need a plan of action. What are the actions we take? I have a feeling, I have a point of view. How do I take action and actually change the world? Marxism. Now we have a system to actually do what needs to be done so that all of us happy-go-lucky MTD people over here that are humanists, now we've got a system to change the world called Marxism. And they blend the three together. So,
I'm hops mad.
well, if you think
I've been
if
seeing
you
all
are if you're hopping mad now, you wait till next week. It is shocking.
It's here.
What is
Yeah.
Every
Talk about
day,
it.
it's
Yeah.
everything.
So-
It's confusing
Look
to
at
me
the schools. Keep them down.
oh, definitely dumb them down. You don't
Dumb 'em down.
and what do you want? You don't want them reading.
No.
Right.
no,
You
no,
do
no,
not
no,
want
no.
them reading. Yeah.
And our legal system.
Any
Those are
Invested
the
that too with
toxic.
TBI.
anything to do
Unless
because
you look for the good stuff to read on your phone.
Right.
yeah, that's true. That's true too. All right.
They won't.
So I've gone over 6 minutes. Please forgive me.
Yay!
But
Bravo, bravo! You got 10 more
Does
minutes to go.
listening to an audiobook with voice qualify as reading?
I think so. I think so. Because you're making yourself aware of the world around you and history and whatever you're reading. Do you begin to understand why we're in the situation we're in?
Oh my gosh.
You see, these worldviews are prevalent within men and women running around here. And as I said, you'll notice that MTD really came dramatically on the scene with the Gen Z group. And that's why I'll show you next week. You look at Gen Z's spirituality, it goes up. And so when you first look at the graph, you think, well, their spirituality went up. Is that Christian? Not necessarily. It's because now they can say, and they can do it, do you believe in God? And they can smile at you and say, oh, yes, I believe in God.